Hello everyone, I'm Blessing Adesiji, a developer advocate here at Circle. In this tutorial, we'll guide you through creating your first API key. This is an essential step in building application with Programmable Wallets. If this is your first time watching this series, be sure to check our previous videos where we talked about the developer dashboard and we talked about a lot of concepts. What are API keys? API keys are distinct data strings used to authenticate users and grant access to privileged operations on Circle's API. API keys serve as the primary mechanism for authenticating client requests across all of Circle's API. Without them, requests will fail. It is essential to handle your API keys securely, avoid sharing them with others or exposing them in public repositories. Now that that's covered, let's create our first API key together. To create your first API key, navigate to your developer dashboard and you can see mine as shown, and this is the home. So I'll navigate to the API key section and you see a lot of API keys that I've already created for my other use cases. So to create API key, I'll click on create a key button and that would bring this next page for me. I have the key name, which I'll put a key name. So let's say demo key 2. So let's put demo key 2. You have the option of either creating standard key or restricted key. Standard key permits the API key access to all of Circle's Web3 services API, while restricted key only give access to certain APIs. So you can see we have webhooks, programmable wallet, and smart contract platform. But for this tutorial, we're going to grant read and write access for programmable wallet. So we're going to work with a restricted key. Now that that's covered, we have the name already, we've selected the restricted key. I'll simply click on the create key button. This modal shows up and you can copy and store your API key somewhere safe, which I'm going to do, right? I'll copy it and store it somewhere safe. Before I leave, note that you have the ability to edit the API key. So you can edit the API key as shown. And what that means is you can change the API key or change the API key type, right? Now that that's covered, let's test the API key that we just created. I'll navigate to the API reference of the developer documentation, which you can access at the URL as shown. And I'll input my API key in this input field to test if my API key is working correctly. Don't worry if you don't understand all this that you see on the screen. We have a couple of more sections coming up where we'll cover all these API endpoints in much detail. So I will send this request to try my API key. So notice that I have the API key as shown, and that returned a 200 response, meaning this API key is actually working correctly. And you can see that I got some data back in the response field. So that was because I used this API key to create wallets in the past. I have another API key that I haven't used before. So I input that in the input field and I'll click on try it button. So notice because I don't have any wallets created, I got back empty string as shown. And you can see the response is 200, meaning that's a successful response. So this just shows that the API key is working correctly and you have everything ready to go. So that's it for this tutorial. In this tutorial, we covered how to create your API key, how to work with different key types, and how to also edit your particular API key. Then we showed how to verify the API key that you've just created by sending a test API request using the API reference in the developer documentation, which you can access at the URL given. Thank you for watching. My name is Blessing, and I'll see you in the next video.